Okay, so to date, I still get questions about some of the simplest, in my opinion, indicators that I use on a daily basis when I'm just, checking out charts, etc. Because I'll send screenshots here and there, and then people are just like, "Hey, what's up with this chart? Like, what is that XYZ?" So today's gonna be the VRVP, Volume Range Visible Profile, which is the indicator on the right side of my chart. Right here, you'll be able to see that. So essentially what it is the best way to explain it is where most volume was traded in a certain time frame, which the time frame is your screen size, which means if I scroll out, the VRVP will adjust accordingly and give you the volume profile essentially on the right side of your screen where most volume was traded in this range, so to speak. That is honestly how simple it is. So what is it actually used for, right? So we can literally go down to the daily, zoom out, and you'll see the VRVP adjust accordingly with the peaks and valleys where at least the most volume was traded. So that's the best way to explain it. That's the simplest way. You can see most volume was traded right here in this little range back here in January, and even though we never revisited, this is still the peak of volume. And again, a lot of volume was traded here during this entire range, with the peak being right here, where most volume, or most coins, so to speak, changed hands, is one other way to think about it. This is where least volume was traded, and I'll also kind of explain why that is relevant, so to speak. So what's nice about having kind of like where most volume is traded is these areas where a lot of volume is traded is essentially a confirmation that that is a fair value area, right? Essentially, the markets kind of battled it out during this range and said, okay, what is fair value here? Bears couldn't push it lower, bulls couldn't push it higher for a long amount of time, creating what is called a fair value, right? So in this period of the market, so February 24th all the way to November 20 or 29th, essentially, the market was fighting for what fair value is. Bears tried to push it below this, bulls tried to push it above this, and nobody kind of came out on top until eventually, of course, here we did, as bulls come on top. This was thus, for this period, February to November, considered fair value. What is relevant about that is whenever price revisits an area with high VRVP activity, so to speak, this will serve as support, right? Because this has been considered for, February to fucking November, it was considered fair value, which means next time it revisits that, this is a very strong area. And you could argue this is literally just, you could look at price action and just say, okay, well, this is support, obviously, because of how it acted for these months, and that's why it's just support resistance. That's one way to think about it, but on lower time frames, this is going to become even more relevant. In contrast, this gap you see right here is an area in which no fair value was built, is one way to think about it. I'm mixing concepts here, which is fair value and VRVP, but they kind of go hand in hand in my personal opinion. So in this area, we kind of see no price action, confirming that there's any fair value being built here. It literally is just a one, 2-day candle going up straight from 76 up to 87, right? So if price revisits this, it's relatively, unless we build fair value here and do some type of range, on the higher time frame, this is the next area in which there's very strong support, as it is the peak of volume and a fair value area has been built over time. On the lower time frame, in contrast, we can use it much more immediately, such as here on the hourly. We can kind of look at what are areas where you could possibly see resistance and could possibly see support, etc. This is obviously an area where we are price action wise seeing resistance around, this. I'm drawing it out roughly, but again, everything is a range. Even if I draw a line, right, this is the better way to draw it, right? If I were to draw this out without even looking at the VRVP, I would say this is where we're struggling to hold or flip, etc. right now, which indicates to me that I want to kind of trade this level, so to speak, or see some type of confirmation, of course, before trading this level. Similarly, or at the same time rather, the VRVP is sitting very fairly at this level, creating this extra level of confirmation for me, being like, okay, I'm seeing resistance, I'm seeing support, I'm seeing it struggling with this level. Why might that be? Or not particularly why, but what else is indicating this is a relevant level? And then we look at the VRVP and we see, okay, this is confirming there's a lot of coins, so to speak, a lot of value changing hands here, and a lot of volume being traded around this area. So we kind of are waiting for some type of confirmation of this level becoming some type of support or becoming some type of resistance. At the same time, we have another peak here, and the way you want to look at this is not like, oh, this is the most relevant peak, this is the second most relevant peak. You could look at it that way. I'm literally just looking at where's a lot of volume being traded, and that's the next level. That's another level I want to look at, right? In this case, I'm not particularly looking at this level as a fair value gap and saying like, oh, we want to come down here per se. That's not really how I'm using it. I'm literally just using it as like, this is a nice area for me to decide, okay, we've obviously traded a lot of volume back here. If we come back down here, let me see how it interacts with this volume area to use it as support and resistance. It's really that simple. I think that's generally it, right? That's the main way you can use VRVP as a confirmation of support and resistance. I think that's the best way to use it, and there's not much else to say about it. So it might look sick, it might look cool as fuck, and you might be, what really is this? But it's a very simple concept. It's not something too difficult to understand or just implement in any trading strategy you're already using as a secondary confirmation. You might want to change up some of the settings. I have this adjusted. I have my inputs adjusted, the row size, the value area volume. I have all these things adjusted to make it nice. I made it all gray in order to like not make it obvious on my chart and make it fucking obnoxious while you're trading, because the simplest settings are extremely annoying. You'll see here I add it. Like, this is just like unbearable. So make sure you adjust these settings ASAP once you add it to your chart. But that's more or less TLDR on VRVP and how to use it. I recommend just using your trading strategy, whatever it is, really. If you're simply trading support and resistance, this is just going to add an extra level of confirmation to that. Even if you're trading open interest, CVD, you could just implement this as a confirmation of, okay, I'm seeing open interest rise here, I'm seeing XYZ is reacting in XYZ way with price, and I like this level because there's a lot of volume traded in addition to that, so let's ball out, right? That's a TLDR on it. I'll be back with more shit. I'll probably do something on OI, CVD, etc. next, because I still see people that, even though I consider them very smart individuals, fucking up the way they use it. So I think that might be the next one, but I'll be around, and happy to be back. Trade on ox.fun, check out my Twitter, use VRVP at your own discretion, and any questions are always welcome wherever you can contact me, Telegram, Twitter, etc. Bless.